Ladies and gentlemen, we have a red alert. Red alert. Niantic has updated the moves for the Giratina origin form, and wow, it has definitely changed the results. We ended up covering a video on this, doing a deep dive comparing the altered version versus the origin version, saying like, I don't think a lot of people are going to be excited about doing this origin raid for Giratina, mostly because it ended up with the same movesets. The movesets held it back, but Niantic must have listened to us. There was still time to change the moves before the event actually started on April 2nd, and that is exactly what happened. We do now have a new moveset, which means we need to really focus on this deep dive. I'm getting rid of the old video. This will be the most up-to-date information, and I can promise you, you're definitely gonna want to go out and raid this Giratina origin form. So what all has changed with it? Well, the only true thing that changed was, of course, the moveset. And for those of you who are curious and just want to see like the overall main results of it, now Giratina origin form will have Dragon Tail, Shadow Claw, Dragon Pulse, Ominous Wind, and Shadow Ball. So there is definitely a lot going on with this, especially from just the rating perspective, PvP, but we'll be covering all of that in today's deep dive. I'm very excited about it, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Giratina origin form with a max AP of 3,683. Giratina origin form is a dual type of ghost and dragon typing. Taking a look at the stats, you will see that its best stat is its stamina stat, and then its second best stat is its attack stat at 225. The only main difference between the Giratina origin and altered form is of course the flip of the attack and defense stats, and now we are going to be taking a look at the change in the moveset. So why are these new moves so important? Well, to be honest, initially, it was basically this moveset that held back Giratina origin form, but now it has access to Shadow Ball, which is the best ghost type move that you want to have. Coupled with some incredible stats, you can now check out this chart where you can take a look at the DPS, TDO, and then of course like the multiplication of the two, and you're going to see that Giratina has easily moved itself up the list, and in some cases it can actually be the top performer, especially from a ghost type perspective, mainly because the moveset no longer holds it back. Unfortunately though, on the dragon side, it unfortunately doesn't have outrage, and then there's also a lot of competition, so it can't really compete from that aspect. But it's kind of a catch-22 because we've got a Pokemon that, yes, it can't perform via the dragon typing, but guess what? It already wasn't going to be able to with the old moveset. But now on the ghost side, it is definitely looking up. So let's go ahead and take a look at it from the raid perspective and then go over a couple of results. So PokeBattler was absolutely on their A game. They went ahead and got all of the simulations updated, so you can go check it out. Click on a few of them if you want to. I will be covering two specific examples though that I think are definitely relevant to the situation. The first one is versus a Mewtwo, so versus a Psychic type. Whenever you go up against a Psychic type Pokemon, obviously dependent on the moveset, it appears that Giratina is going to be one of the #1 options. The origin form is going to go in there and absolutely demolish it. As you will see on these results specifically, the Giratina origin form even outpaces a Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, Legacy Gengar, and even surpassing the Mewtwo itself. Also, when you're talking about that, it gets significantly less faint than something like a Gengar, which acts a little bit more like a glass cannon, so that is amazing. Then when we move on to a secondary example, what about all of you out there who want to solo some tier 3s? I figured it might be cool to go ahead and run a simulation versus Gengar. Well, guess what? When we take a look at that, you will see that Mewtwo technically holds on to the #1 spot, but in at the #2 spot is that Giratina origin form, so there's going to be more usability than just versus a Mewtwo. In this case, it's in second, but it has a lot less feints. But regardless of that, when you have a Pokemon that can be #1 in certain categories, #2 in other categories, it's definitely a solid option. So as far as the rating is concerned, I'm definitely giving this one an A+. If you want to power this one up, you are not going to be upset with your investment, especially long term. It has Shadow Ball, it has Shadow Claw. It is destined to be a great attacker from the ghost typing perspective. I'm super excited about it. I know that you are going to be very excited once this raid gets into play. April's going to be such a fun month. I can tell you a lot of people are definitely going to want to do this raid. But for those of you out there who are interested in PvP, we do have a couple of interesting things to talk about. In relation to PvP, starting out with the Masters League. The altered form technically still outperforms the origin form, but it's really not that far behind. Go ahead and take a look at these results. You of course see it in at the number 5 spot, and I'm kind of curious about the moveset, right? Because we're focusing on Shadow Ball, and then we also add on Dragon Pulse. But the question that I have is more or less related to Ominous Wind, which is now available, which is a status-inducing move related to PvP. That makes me wonder if it might be worth it to go ahead and unlock that secondary charge move, get that Ominous Wind. Maybe you could end up getting a stat boost out of it, and then you could finish off with Shadow Ball. Or you could go with Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse is not that great of a move as far as PvP is concerned. So in this case, I think that the altered form definitely gets the leg up, at least from the Masters League. But let's go ahead and go down to the Ultra League and see how the results are. If you go ahead and take a look, you will see that the Giratina origin form slips a little bit further into that number 17 spot. But with it being a little bit more focused on attack, that's kind of expected that the lower you go, the worse off it will be. Once again, you're seeing that Dragon Pulse and then the Shadow Ball again. But the normal Giratina altered form is still holding on to that number 1 spot. But to be honest, it comes down to the moveset. Having Ancient Power, a status-inducing move. Having Dragon Claw, a very short duration move, so you can definitely spam both of those. I would honestly say that it seems like Niantic has kind of posed these two Pokemon in two different ways. You have the altered form. It seems to be destined to succeed in PvP. Then on the other hand, you have the origin form, which now is viable as a raider. I'm super excited about this. This means that regardless of what type of player you are, you're definitely going to get a use out of these two different variations, something that I'm personally excited about. So of course we want to end with a final question. Do you need to unlock that secondary charge move? Well, to be honest, if you are just going to use it for raiding, I would say no. If you use it for PvP, go for it, but Ominous Wind could be an interesting one, at least in my opinion, over Dragon Pulse, but I definitely want to know what you think about it in the comments section below. I'm super excited about it. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think that Niantic actually listened? Are you glad that they updated it? Definitely let us know in the comments section below, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate this support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.